Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Shanalee Sharboneau. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Well, good evening, y'all. This is host Shanalee Sharboneau, and I am here to interview the very interesting Teal Gray. Teal, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. We so appreciate you. As we all know, we're in quarantine, just to kind of historically mark what's going on out there today. And what's going to be fun about this is Teal is kind of a spiritualist, somebody that's really connected with her spiritual side, somebody who's connected to her religious side, but maybe in a way that you wouldn't define religion, just kind of loving of a higher power. And it's going to be really I'm going to enjoy this, Teal. I've been looking forward to this all day. So
good.
Let's get started. Let's get to know a little bit about yourself. I'm sure everybody's out there saying, Teal Gray. How did you get the name Teal Gray?
Well, it's really old family names that were put together. And, it's one from each side. So the Teal came from my father's line and the Gray from my mother's. And so it's kind of just an interesting way. And people are a little disappointed and they're like, "Ooh, what's the L stand for?" Because they're expecting it to be so interesting. And my middle name is Lisa. And so they're like, "Oh." I always get the same thing when they're like, "What's the middle name?" Lisa. Oh, it's very disappointing. So I don't know, maybe I should rename myself some better middle name. I don't know, something a little more mysterious.
I think the name's perfect. Absolutely. So let's learn a little bit about yourself. You've got a very interesting background of cultures and cultures that came together and created the person you are. And let's dive into that, because I really want to lead to the spiritualism and how you became Teal.
Well, I am a born empath and medium, and I didn't come into the mediumship until a few years ago, and I'm still reluctant with it. I just have I guess I'm a control freak, and it really kind of bothers me to give over yourself to something. But so it's always been with me, this other side, this mystical side. And I've always been very spiritual. I've always had a close relationship with what I feel are my angels and God. And so, it's been a bit of a conflict also for me growing up, because how is it okay that I have this psychic ability and can see these spirits that other people can't see? And so that was something that was always with me, going through. But I have gone through seminary, and I'm an ordained non-denominational minister since 2011. And I have a theological background with that and studies, and I'm also have a doctorate in naturology, which is again holistic, theologically based, drugless practitioner. And so between the mix of those two things, you do get mysticism along with the science. And so when I write or travel, I'm a sacred site traveler. I travel all over the world and go to these wonderful, amazing sites that have been pilgrimages for people for centuries. And it's a really amazing experience. So I put all of that together in my writings, my books, and everything I do. And so I think that gives me a little bit of a layer with the background in the studies to look at everything from a worldview. I don't look at it just from a certain denomination. So if I'm looking at a site or I'm writing a book about anything, I look at the layers, because if you take away the verbiage of, whether it's Buddhist or, Catholic or Baptist, and you just look at the story somebody's trying to tell you, you just look at their history or whatever, and you lay that over each other, it's the same story. It's going to have different names, and it's going to have, little slight variations, but essentially it's always the same story. And that was really something that brought me to center and made me realize, you know what, all these things, these abilities, everything is a gift. I've been able to help many people with my gifts, and so now I've made peace with it, and I know it's a gift, and I don't struggle with it anymore. So that's a little bit of how the spirituality comes into the science for me.
I think that's a very powerful statement because, religion may give us structure, but at the end of the day, if we all could understand, like you said, that it's all the same story, we're all seeking the same, it's a spiritual journey, I think that would bring us more together, instead of using it as a wall.
It would. It definitely would. And, if you are studying the ancient texts, and I'm talking back far, even, there are things that back up Bible passages, and there are things and records that are much older than any of that. And so when you go through all of these things, you realize there was a time when, and I think we're getting back to that time, when your spirit life and your just life was very mystical. It wasn't that you had to fit into this box to say you were spiritual or you believed, not just in God, I believe in God, but whatever higher power you believe in or worshiped, that was not surprising to anybody else in the world. Everybody came from different backgrounds, and they knew that, and they mixed together very well, and they traded with each other, they intermarried, things. It was just not a problem to believe even in spirits or mystic things. It was common, the shamans, and if you go into the to the Native Americans, it was always peaceful, beautiful. Nature was always part of your life, and when you are very deep in nature, you will understand there are things you can't always explain, and so you become even more involved in this sort of energy that intertwines everything, people, animals, everything in the world, and it was always together. And then there came a time, and I think a lot of it had to do with control and money and business, and it got more and more and more separated out. And then those things split off into their, things, and you must, sit in this box, and you fit in that, and we're going to tell you what you can do and who you can love and what's good and what's evil. And it was all about control. And people now are becoming so aware of their own spirituality and their own gifts, and realizing their gifts, and they want to use them, or they've had an experience, with the paranormal they couldn't explain. And yet these are wonderful people. They're not evil people. So they're realizing it's not one or the other. It is a mix. And so they're leaving, these organizations, these church, homes in droves, and they're leaving it, not leaving their love of their higher power, their God, or whoever they believe in. They're leaving it to get closer to that, to have that bond and that spirituality that was once very everyday, common, and not separated. So we're really coming back full circle to a closer relationship with spirit.
And I think what's so interesting, to back up what you're saying, is if you do believe people who might have died for a moment and crossed over and come back, they say that though they, with respect to all religions, religion fades away because it's so amazing on the other side that is trivial comparison to what we'll see. And that's exciting. I think you're right. I think the awakening of the spirit and realizing that is a positive message, and people are really attracted to that. Mm-hmm. Speaking of people being very interested, I apologize, the dog's home because of Corona.
And anytime, mine might chime in at any time, don't worry.
And everybody's on a walk, so. But people are very interested in spirits. Either you wonder about them, or you fear them, or
Yes.
and if you wonder about them, you wonder what a spirit is and are they around us? Could you speak about that? I think that's very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, we are energy, and so we are energetic entities, beings that are in this body. This body is what we use to maneuver this reality that we are in this world now. When we cross over, when we die, we leave this body. And as you spoke to for near-death experience people, which, I've talked to many and I know several, you leave this body, but you don't leave your personality, your soul. You're intact. You just aren't in this physical body. And so they, as you said, they have these experiences, and that speaks to exactly my interactions with spirits, entities, angels, everything on the other side, that it is not, they don't have the titles that we need to feel order, or time for that matter. Time is irrelevant.
So, man, Teal, I hate to interrupt this because this is very interesting, but we do need to take a break for our sponsor. So we'll be right back.
The 5th Annual Authors Marketing Event is coming to Granbury, Texas, July 24th through the 27th. Join us and learn from the professionals how to properly market and sell yourself and your books. Go to ame.authorsmarketingguild.com for all the details. That's ame.authorsmarketingguild.com.
I'm Rox Berkey.
And I'm Charles Brakefield. We're award-winning co-authors, Brakefield and Berkey, of the Enigma book series. There are 10 books in the series, with book number 11 planned for release in January 2020.
Each story has a central technology focus ranging from identity theft to cryptocurrency and now AI wars. These adult techno thrillers pit cyber good guys against cyber thugs across the darknet.
In our world, technology is today's weapon of choice. You can enjoy ebook format, paper, or Audible. We want your feedback.
Until the next story, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
Hello, I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have 2 new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Okay, so welcome back, Teal. This is really interesting. Everybody's just, they're always wondering about spiritual guides and angels and what have you, and having your ability has got to be something else. I mean, that's an amazing blessing. I would hope you would think would be a blessing, right?
I've come to feel that way.
Wonderful. So there's 3 books I really want to focus on. Obviously, you have come out with a recent release, but let's kind of take a couple steps back. There's 2, one called Shades of Angels, Angels of Light and Dark and Us in Between, and Spirited Tales, Anthology of True Ghostly Encounters. So I think, if you could talk a little bit about these 2 books, because it really kind of covers that gamut of wondering, are there angels? Are they good and bad? And are there spirits? And what are those spirits like? So would love to hear your thoughts and what little tidbits in the book.
Sure. For Shades of Angels, actually that book was written because As being a sacred site traveler going all over the world, as I said, I interact with all different people from all religions and all backgrounds, and some who have no religion at all, and that's okay too. So they found that they were opening themselves up by saying they were praying to the angels, but they were getting this mixed bag of tricks. And I thought, what is going on? Because it's global, right? And so I began to realize that they thought the word angel meant good, just flat out. That was good. So they thought they were praying, and everything was going to be great. The problem is, the angels, there's as many dark angels as there are light angels. Okay, so when they were not being specific, and that's why I wrote the book, to let people know you have to be specific when you pray, when you meditate, when you are bringing anything into your life. It is really, truly a law of attraction, in the sense that you must say, good angels, please be with me, please help me, whatever it is you want to say. And you need that to be specific, because otherwise you are giving open permission to the light and the dark to come into your life, and they will. The problem is, darkness moves faster than light. And I can't tell you why, it just is. So, I have my own thoughts about it. I believe that, when there was the fall, but then I'm a Christian, so I believe, that there was a fall from angels in heaven. And I do believe that the earth is where they are in control at this time. So I think that's why evil can move faster, is because it's already here. And the others are a bit having to battle to get through and protect you, and they do that, and they're around at the same time as well. But you definitely want to be specific and ask for good angels if that's something that you're trying to bring in. There are so many realms of it and so many nuances. I have been in contact with not only light angels, but I have, I believe, been in contact with demons several times. And that's in the book, and Spirited Tales is a little more, people really were interested in where I went and some of the places. And so there's some stories in there about that, and some of the locations, some photos and things. So yeah, but spirits are definitely all around us all the time, whether you believe in that or not. That's fine, but it doesn't, change the fact that they're there. And they are sometimes good and sometimes bad. You have to protect yourself. Everybody is psychic. Everybody's intuitive. It's just how much you use it or even acknowledge that it's there. So some people, I kind of relate it to people who can play music by ear. They can pick up an instrument and just play the most beautiful music you've ever heard. But most people have to have instruction. They have to have lessons. They have to work on it. And they still, always, I think, have this sort of like they're just really trying to play the piano or they're really trying to play the guitar. When somebody who's just very open and in tune with it and has that natural gift, it flows a little freer because they don't have any difference. They have no, point of reference that it wasn't flowing through them. But it definitely flows through everybody, and you can all tap into it and have this beautiful, protection and relationship. And you can also, you need to be able to turn that off and not have that be constantly going on in your life.
I love your theory as far as believing the dark angels being here on Earth, and maybe a possibility of why darkness moves quicker. One of the shows that's very famous right now is Lucifer, and it's hard. Everybody says the same thing. I don't want to watch a show that's named after the devil, but they really get into angels being here on Earth, and then the good angels coming down from heaven. So that's amazing that the show is probably read your book and took that premise. And
well, they really do a good job. I haven't seen all of the series, but I have seen a couple of the shows just out of curiosity, and they do a really, really fantastic job of kind of playing that out. It's done well.
It is very interesting. So you came out with, and by the way, congratulations on your reviews. I mean, you were 5-star all the way down, lady. Bestseller. How many bestsellers do you have?
4 now.
4. That's not easy to do. So
No, I've been blessed because I've only put out 4 books. So we're batting 1,000 so far.
Right.
We hope that it keeps going.
So your most recent, that came out January 15th, 2020, is called Reading the Unwritten.
Yes.
So, I mean, you already have my attention. What did you do in this book?
Reading the Unwritten is really for people who want to understand a little bit more their own gifts and maybe how mine work. And it's not, I made it something where the sections are shorter, so you don't have to get bogged down in a lot of reading to understand something. And it's also something you can move through in sections. But I talk about how I have come to realize that my gifts are truly gifts from God, and not get hung up on the verbiage of good and evil and all of that, and just embrace what it is and use it for good. I mean, you can use anything for bad, but it's a positive thing. And other people were wondering, who say, I feel like I'm a little intuitive, or I have prophetic dreams, or I just know when the phone's going to ring, or I have this instance where I've seen spirits, I've seen my dead relatives, or whatever. And they say, they don't feel comfortable bringing it up to a lot of people, certainly not to, if they're going to church, they absolutely know don't bring it up there. But yet they're curious. They want to know about this. And so it was written really for them to understand, the different aspects and why, using, the Bible and different things like that, why I believe how I believe that it is good, and you can embrace that. You need to protect yourself as you move through anything because it's a tool, and just how to do that also, just real short little things of how you can do that, different tools you can use. Some people wanted to know about tea leaf reading or all of these things, and there's all of that sort of in there for everybody.
I so appreciate you taking on that task, because so many people, I've been asked the question, why would you believe in psychics? Why would you believe in fortune tellers or whatever? And you have to be careful. So I'm going to put that caveat out there, because there are some bad ones.
Absolutely.
On the other side, not on the right side, on the left.
Yeah.
Wrong, right, wrong, rather.
Right.
Didn't mean to, can't even say that. But I always tell people, look, if Christ believed in prophets, or we had prophets for Christ, it's not like the prophets stopped when Christ died.
No,
prophets are
absolutely
still here.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. And you do have to be careful. And I say that to everybody, because there's always going to be people who put prophet first and they don't have the gift. They have no clue. They're just telling you things and none of it's true. They're not connected. You have to really vet that out. Same way that you have to be discerning about spirits. And that's what I talk about in the book as well. You have to learn how to trust your own self. And that comes with just time, and to know, okay, this is rubbish, or this is real. And I tell people, it's good to take a little journal and just write down when you feel like you've been given messages, or you feel intuitive about something. And the more you're in tune with yourself, the quicker you can pick up on if somebody else is or isn't in tune. And anytime anything is coming from a fear factor, if they're trying to say, oh, you have something dark around you, and for, X amount of dollars, I can get rid of that. Run. They're not real. This is just a terrible thing that happens, but it doesn't happen too often. And I do think there's another realm of people who actually are good, have good intentions, but they are not connected or gifted. And so I think they do think that they can read and give you messages, and yet really they're not real. So I think that there's very few that are actually real and connected, and I think you do have to do your homework to find out who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are talking to the very extra talented Teal Gray, author of Reading the Unwritten. We're going to be right back after this.
Thank you for watching or listening to Indie Beacon Radio. Our sponsor, IndieLector.store, is the only bookstore that pays authors their fair share for book sales. Help authors to succeed and enjoy a great book by supporting them at IndieLector.store. Enjoy a 10% discount with coupon code SHOPPER20 at IndieLector.store. Coupon valid until December 31st, 2020. That's indielector.store, coupon code SHOPPER20.
What started as a love letter to her son has become an international love letter for all parents to their children. Now you can read acclaimed author Shanalee Sharboneau's story to your children. When her son was very sick, she calmed him by singing her own song to him. She turned that song into the book, My Mama Loves Me, I'm Her Little Boy. She wrote 3 more magical books for all parents and kids 6 and under. Available at Indie Lector, Amazon, and all local and national outlets.
We Fiction is a fun, fast-paced writing contest for any author team to create a book based on what readers submit for plot, characters, locations, and even plot twists. Learn more about this unique contest at wefiction.dearindie.org.
Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Well, man, I think this is the first interview. We are back here with Teal Gray for Indie Beacon Radio. I'm your host, Shanalee Sharboneau. Teal, I have to say, this is probably the first interview I've done where I don't want to break. and that's not to say that anybody before you wasn't fantastic, but I have to watch my time with you. So, and I think the reason being is people are interested in spirits. I mean, you know, I've interviewed a lot of amazing people that had unbelievable stories, but this is something we wonder about all cohesively, all together. So really appreciate you writing these books to help us more understand whether we have the intuition or not.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. So, okay, so reading the Unwritten, where can people purchase your books? Because I'm looking at 3 here that I think I'm going to be pushing the button for.
Well, you can get all of them are available on Amazon now. Reading the Unwritten was through a different publishing house, and so that it's now available on Amazon in all formats. You can also go to Barnes & Noble and get it there. It's available there on the shelves, and also you can have it ordered in if you know, luckily we've been it's usually sold out, so but you can have it ordered in, or you can order it online from Barnes & Noble or Amazon.
That's wonderful. And I know we're in lockdown, so where do you usually do book signings? So when we're released and we hug each other again, which I can't wait.
Yeah.
Every person I see.
Yeah.
You know, where do you usually appear, or where do you usually do book signings? And could you name your website so people can keep an eye on you too?
Yeah, if you want to go to tealgray.com, that's one of them. Superstitious.texas.com is another one. That's a new mystery series that I have coming out. And but you'll see me at Barnes & Noble. There'll be signings for that. Again, all of those things that we had planned, of course, are on hold for now. I do other bookstores. I have been a best-selling Texas author for the Kroger series, and so I was through, I think 25 signings last year at various Kroger stores throughout the state. And so that's something that that'll happen again. Different conferences, paranormal conferences, just all over. There's a lot of Teal Gray out there, so you can find me.
I think I'd love to wrap this up with, only because I'm sure people are going to see this interview and just be so intrigued. But what's the strangest thing that ever happened to you? I think that's a good question.
I think the strangest thing that ever happened to me was my interaction with what I think was a dark spirit or a demon. And I don't throw that word around lightly, because I think they're rarer than a lightning strike. I think there's a lot of negativity and very rare interactions with them, actually. But I was well awake. It was about, I would say, probably 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I had been up, so I wasn't in a sleepy dream state. I was in my bedroom still, and outside the bedroom in that part of the front house, and it matters, I have 2 houses on 3 acres. And so my front house, I use the second house as an office, but the front house looks out over these pear trees in the back and that are between the front and the back house. And so it was winter, and we had been in a long winter at that time, and things were, Texas, we don't usually, I'm in North Texas, so we don't usually have bad winters at all, but we had had ice and snow for over a week. It was really, kind of a thing, a phenomenon here. And so I was looking out thinking, how many of these pear trees are going to survive? I don't think some of them will. And they were dead. There was nothing, just bleak snow, ice, that's it. And then I felt this like finger go right through down my face and down my neck, and this very throaty kind of, voice that says, oh, you don't believe, that we are really real. You know we are, but you want to think automatically that we can't make people, see things and do things, at a whim. And I'm going to let you remember this, and I'm not going to hurt you because I just want to teach you. And like that, before I could even go, I knew what it was, and I was so stunned by it because I stay pretty protected. Before I could even pray to banish, this, I was instantly looking out the same window, still standing there, but it was harvest time. The trees were hanging heavy with all these pears. The ground was filled with pears, and all I could think of was, oh my gosh, I need help. I need baskets. I mean, there's bushels and bushels of pears. Where are we going to keep all these? I've never seen anything so abundant. It's just amazing. I was all caught up as if this was real. And then there was this really, terrifying laugh. And then again, a stroke, down my face and my neck. And it said, see, do you see how easy that was? You couldn't even ask for help. And look now, look again. And so I look out the window again, and I'm really shaken from this experience. And I look out, and it's again, there's nothing there but the dead, the snow, everything's just ice. There's nothing there. And then there was, of course, this trailing laugh, and off they went. But I'll never forget that, because it did make me be less judgmental of thinking that things that were too fantastical were literally too fantastic. When people would tell me, oh, I know, I saw a demon, or this happened, and I saw things that weren't there, or this would happen, I would think, either over-medicated, under-medicated, maybe, I don't know. When it was too much, I was a little skeptical. And now I really stop and think, maybe, who knows? You're always going to have the under and over medicated, but at the same time, there are these miracles and manifestations that we can't explain, light and dark. And so I think that was probably my most interesting interaction.
Well, man, I could go on another 30 minutes, but we're not going to do that. But man, thank you, Teal, for your insights. Hopefully this brought some peace to people, answering some questions. We have spoken to the great Teal Gray, writer of Reading the Unwritten, Shades of Angels, and Spirited Tales. Y'all stay safe. Good night.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website.
Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Shanalee Sharboneau. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B. Allen Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B. Allen Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord